I'm getting goosebumps. Yeah. So there's something like really powerful about your journey that wants to be shared here. And I'm wondering if you'd be willing to do that.
I love that you're getting goosebumps. I call those truth chills because they just kind of show up when something feels, significant. And this journey has felt very significant. And actually, some of the most important lessons that I had were when I didn't listen. And I stuck around in situations where I knew that something was off. And even though I was being told that it was all in my head, later on really kind of came to the surface what was going on. And those were the most important lessons for me to really trust what's coming through. I actually started bawling my eyes out. The soul level, oh my gosh, you remembered. It was such a huge relief. I don't know how to explain it, but it was kind of like oh my gosh, I've been trying to get your attention with this. You finally remembered. And I was feeling all of it internally. And it was just the most magical, amazing experience of remembering. And there was no question in my mind that that's the route I was going.
Hello, my intuitive friends, and welcome back to the Coach's Ascension podcast, where we explore the deeper currents beneath great coaching, intuition, energy, and the kind of soul level knowing that transform not just you, but your clients too. I'm your host, Grace Kelpis, and today's guest is someone whose work sits right at the intersection of the seen and the unseen. Indy is a behavioral dog trainer with 16 years of experience, and about 7 years ago, she began a journey into energy healing that changed everything. Now, through her new practice, Wild Earth Animal Alchemy, she works with all species, combining behavioral consulting with Reiki, animal communication, and intuitive energy work, helping not just the animals, but the humans who love them. Her path here was not linear, though. It came through dreams and signs, even a hawk feather found at just the right moment, and a middle of the night download that made her cry with recognition. You know, the kind where something your soul already knew finally reaches you. In this conversation, we talk about trusting your intuitive hits even when the world tells you it's all in your head, the soul contracts we hold with our animals, and what it really means to go deeper in your work. This one is rich, so let's get into it. Hi, Indy. Welcome to the show. I'm so glad to have you here. Tell our audience a little bit about yourself before we jump into our conversation.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. And it really means a lot. It's really good to see you again and catch up with you again. If you hear my dog in the background, that's Pixie. We'll talk about her a little bit later. My name is Indy. I live in Wilmington, North Carolina. It's not a little port city on the coast here, and it's absolutely beautiful. I work with animals doing behavioral dog training. I've been a behavioral dog trainer for 16 years. And about 7 years ago, I started training in energy healing. So I started training in Reiki, and I worked all the way up through Karuna Reiki Master level training. And then I really started getting fascinated by energy healing with animals. So I trained up through the master level with animal Reiki. And about a year ago, I started incorporating energy healing with my dog training clients. More recently, I've opened my practice to all species. So I know that we're going to be talking about intuition today. And this whole process, like the way that it has played out, has been very intuitive from the very beginning. There were dreams involved and signs along the way, and just big kind of soul level remembrance or rememberings, I guess, that really were kind of like guideposts letting me know which way to go. And it's just been a wild and beautiful ride.
Yes, thank you so much. Would you mind showing Pixie? Because I think she's going to be very much a part of this conversation.
Yes. Yeah. So let me see if So that's Pixie.
Oh, Pixie! She's
Pixie,
like, I'm
Pixie.
busy eating something.
She's only been with me about 6 or 7 weeks now, and she is a Dogo Argentino, and this is the first time I've had a Dogo, and, it's so funny. I've had pitties and I had a shepherd mix, and, her energy level is about 10 times, the energy of any of my previous dogs, so we're both, like, kind of figuring out how to work with each other to make sure she gets all of that energy out every day.
Oh, great. Yay, Pixie. She's
Yeah.
so sweet. For those of you listening on Spotify, she's beautiful. She looks like similar to like a pit bull boxer, that
Mhm.
short hair, white, really cute little face. I
Yes.
have I can share screen to show her picture here. Let's share. Can you see it?
Yeah, that's her.
Oh, she's so
Yeah.
cute. Oh.
I love her so
Oh.
much.
Ugh.
She's so adorable, and she's hilarious also. Like, she's very sweet, very funny, and she knows what she wants, and she's really clear about it. So,
This
uh,
thing right now, yeah.
yes, yeah,
That's great. It's cool.
yeah.
I remember and you and I, with Sev, we did a podcast recording, I wanna say it was last year, and we've talked since then, and I remember you were, like, on the road, and there was this big thing happening for you around intuition and, like, shifting into working with animals in a new way, and can you talk a little bit about, like I'm getting goosebumps. Yeah. So there's something, like, really powerful about your journey that wants to be shared here, and I'm wondering if you'd be willing to do that.
I love that you're getting goosebumps. I call those truth chills, because they just kind of show up when something feels, yeah, significant. And this journey has felt very significant. And um, so let's see, around that time, yeah, I was training in animal Reiki. I think maybe I had just started incorporating it with my dog training clients, but I remember I was actually going through like some major transitions. So over the last 2 years, I've essentially been in one huge transition that has involved a lot of endings and a lot of beginnings. And they've been kind of abrupt and intense endings, and also those endings have made room for what is true for me now. So all of it has been perfectly and like divinely orchestrated. But it has been a very intense couple of years. You know, I've been a behavioral dog trainer for a very long time, and I love the work that I do. I've been working within the same business model one on one for 16 years now. And I started to feel not necessarily like a dissonance around it, but more that, like, I knew that something new was coming, and before I worked for myself, I worked for lots of different companies doing different things, and I would never really last long anywhere because this would happen where I would just kind of start to feel this like, I'm supposed to be doing something else. And then it would almost get to the point where it was so uncomfortable to keep doing things the way that I was that eventually a tower moment would hit and I would end up somewhere else. So when I started uh, kind of on my entrepreneurial journey, I have stayed in the same field for a very long time and have really loved it, and it's been really fulfilling. But things were starting to shift, and really it was around going deeper with the animals, going deeper with my clients, because while training and the way that I do training, we really do work quite a bit with the nervous system. I work a lot with dogs who are anxious, reactive, have, you know, separation anxiety or any number of different fear related behaviors. And I was really starting to feel like I was only kind of going so deep, and I really was wanting to go deeper. and energy healing was how I was meant to do that. And I remember I was laying in bed one day and I was really kind of having a hard time around something that was going on in my um, life around one of those big endings. And I was just kind of, feeling it all. And I was laying in bed one night and I remember having this just kind of like download that I was supposed to train to the master level in animal Reiki and start incorporating it. And that's what really started everything. And when this download hit, I actually started like bawling my eyes out, like the soul level. Oh my gosh, you remembered. It was such a huge relief. I don't know how to explain it, but it was kind of like oh my gosh, I've been trying to get your attention with this. You finally remembered, and I was feeling all of it internally. And it was just the most magical, amazing experience of remembering. And there was no question in my mind that that's the route I was going. It's taken quite some time for it to unfold to the point where I am now. Last August, I was down on Oak Island and in North Carolina. It's only about an hour south of here, but it's really beautiful. It's really quiet. And I had some time to like decompress. And a lot started coming in around what I'm actually launching now. That I would be working with all different species. I would be working via distance, and that I would start to open up another level of freedom of movement for myself, but really starting to build out a completely new business model. And then it took a while for things to really get clear. And I just was not able to rush that process. Things were a little bit like, I'm not sure what this is going to look like. I'm not really sure. And then I would get these big ahas and kind of start going down that path. And then more and more ahas as I went. And now we're actually at like my launch day for for the new business, which is for all species distance work, still with behavioral consulting, but more like light touch rather than one-on-one training.
Yeah, and tell me the name of your company again.
Yes, so it's Wild Earth Animal Alchemy, and the website is wildearthanimalalchemy.com. And yeah, I'm so excited. I've really put my heart into this project, and it just feels so, so good for it to like finally be coming to fruition. And then for you to reach out to me when you did, and then for this to fall on, today, it just blows my mind. The timing is amazing.
Yeah, it's so I invite everybody to go to the website and read about Indy because there's so much information there, and it's the vibe, Indy, of your webpage is very loving, and um, yeah, there's other things going on there, but I don't know the descriptors to describe them.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's really gorgeous, and so I invite people, especially if you have a pet, to check Indy out because um, there's something that you mentioned to me that I think you mentioned here, but it's not quite as clear, I think, is that you are working with the relationship between the pet and the owner, as well as the environment that they're in. Can you speak a little bit about how you do that and how your intuition facilitates that
Hmm.
work?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there's multiple layers here. So if we were looking at it from like a very 3D layer of like coming in as a trainer, it's very clear that the relationship between the handler and the dog is playing into the behaviors that the dog is playing out. And it's not only the relationship, it's also what's going on internally for the handler. So if they are feeling super stressed out because their life is, going through if they're going through major transitions and they're maybe going through like some bigger emotional turmoil, the animals in the household, not just dogs, but any animal in the household is going to feel that. And it's not at all something to feel guilty about. We are going to have our human experience and the animals are here to support us, and we're helping them, they're helping us. I truly do believe this is a soul level kind of contract, just like we come in with soul level contracts with humans. I 100% believe we have the same with animals. It's been my very clear experience that that's the case. Not saying, that you need to believe that, but it's worth exploring and just, kind of feeling into that. I'm a very big feeler. So I feel energy in the body. I'm very kinesthetic. And so I will feel like if someone in the room is feeling stressed or anxious, I used to consider myself an empath. And honestly, that was quite toxic because it really was just like, yes, very intuitive, but also a lack of boundaries, like energetic boundaries. But how I have my energetic boundaries set, and now that I'm more like in my own body and my own energy, only the information that's actually important for me to know will come through. And I'm not absorbing it. I'm not holding on to it. I'm not like attaching to it personally in any way. It would just help me start to see a little bit about what was going on. And that would help me kind of guide my sessions a little bit differently. And this was happening more and more over time. And the clarity that was coming in was more and more clear. And um, so on an energy healer kind of level, there's so much. You can go so much deeper. When I have permission to connect in with the animal can speak with me. Like I get, animal communication comes through. I feel what's happening in the body. So there have been many times where we've connected with an animal and not known that they were in pain until I connected in with them and I could feel it like, oh my gosh, there's a lot going on, around the withers, or it feels like a toothache on the right side. And then many, many times these things have been verified by the vet after. So it can be hard to know when an animal is in pain. It can be hard to spot it sometimes. So that can play into behavior. So on that level, it can really help. But now I'm really focusing on including the human in the mix and really kind of having an open line of communication with the people who are open to that. Not everyone is. I would say it's about half and half. Some people who call me are like training only, no Reiki. I'm like, sure, that's totally fine. And that's perfect. But for the people who are open to it, we go deeper and the results are better and faster and much more noticeable as far as like anxiety reduction, stress reduction, and the behaviors that come along with that anxiety and stress reduce much more quickly as well.
As you were talking about getting clarity and using your intuition to have like, oh, it's like, oh, okay, that, oh, I can feel that or I can sense
Mhm.
that. Sounds to me the way you describe it is like the clarity is like a lack of questioning the data. Like the data
Mhm.
comes in and it's like, okay.
Yeah.
Um, I was thinking about the connection between that process and the process that we use in coaching too, which is very from an intuitive coach's perspective, it's very similar. Like for me, I'm leaning into and feeling into that client. I'm not necessarily like mucking around in their energy field, but like if we can set a really strong contract of what we're doing, and really get clear on what it is they want, all of a sudden this like pathway starts lighting up and like there's like I don't know what it is necessarily. Like they can only really tell me, but I can feel the pattern, I can feel the path, I can see the road sign, and it's very, it's fun actually, because it's
Yeah.
a bit of an adventure every time. Does that is there something similar there for you, or how would you describe that?
Yeah, 100%. It's very cool how you describe that. And it is fun. And it is, I mean, there's just so much more to life than what we were told, at least what I was told growing up. Life can be a lot more fun and a lot more magical when we open up to these knowings or being guided in this way. And you had mentioned something about like kind of trusting the knowings that are coming in. That's very important. I will say that's something that, at least for me, came with time. Time and testing and kind of like over and over and over again. Um, these intuitive hits, for lack of a better term. would be kind of proven to me that they were accurate. And actually, some of the most important lessons that I had around that were when I didn't listen and I stuck around in situations where I knew that something was off. And even though I was being told that it was all in my head, it and later on really kind of came to the surface what was going on. And those were the most important lessons for me to like really trust what's coming through and to just know that it's true. And now that doesn't mean that like I am assigning literal meanings to a sign or to a gut feeling or whatever, but I 100% trust what I feel and that I'm feeling it for a reason. And I keep asking questions. So I'll ask spirit, like in real time, what else do I need to know? Or I have a practice every night where I pull cards and I just connect with spirit that way. But there's also just dreams. Dreams are a big guide for me. And also, like, I'll show you something I found the other day. So much magic has been happening lately. And then yesterday I found this feather. It's like a giant hawk feather, and hawks are like my favorite. I love them so much. I'm obsessed with hawks. I've never found a hawk feather like this. And I was like, oh my gosh. So to me, somebody else may have found that and been like, oh, that's cool, really pretty. But to me, I'm like, wow, that's definitely a nod from spirit of like, yep, you're on the right track. Keep going.
And is there something about the hawk in particular that gives you that, or
hmm So, a handful of years ago, I started training with a shaman, and she taught contemporary shamanism. So essentially, like earth medicine for people who grew up in, you know, environments that were not tribal. um, and so, respecting the lineages that she trained in, but also recognizing that like we did not grow up in those environments and it's very different. And so she taught more of like a contemporary style of earth medicine. So while I was training with her, and this was a shaman who she actually she trained in the Andes. She went to the Andes and worked with the shamans there, and has trained at a very high level. She's really incredible. Her healing work was incredible. And her shamanic name is Moonhawk. And when we started working together, hawks were showing up everywhere. And I see them as messengers. I feel them as messengers, and they'll show up in ways that are really significant. So, like, like maybe one will fly right in front of me, and just like something that you can't miss. Or there was a hawk the other day who had picked up a squirrel in the park, and I've seen this before, and the first hawk struggled to get it up and off the ground, but this time around, I saw a hawk with a squirrel, and it took off and like took off with this squirrel no problem. It was a huge hawk, and when I see things like that, there is kind of a message around like death and kind of the death process and things that are falling away and dying within myself or even collectively. And it's a very natural part of life. We're all constantly kind of evolving in that way. But things, animals will show up in that way when I am experiencing like an internal releasing. I'll see, kind of pretty wild examples in nature of life and death.
yeah, when you say wild, it has like a double meaning.
Yes.
Wild examples.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah. That is really sweet. And I've noticed in the short program we just did called Intuition and Practice with some of our coaches, some of the practices they did were connecting with nature, and um, the responses to that were incredible. Like they would suddenly see things they didn't see before and connect things more quickly than they would have if at all, before. So to your point, like there's this once you start listening, the universe talks back. And even though I think, some traditional psychologists would say like, well, you see what you look for.
Mhm.
Um, if you just bought a white car, you're going to see white cars everywhere. And so if
Mhm.
you're looking for messages from the universe, you're going to, plaster your your projections all over it. But it's
Right.
different than that. Like that is also true.
Yes.
And there are times when it is a hawk flying in your face and it's very difficult to miss.
Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
I even ask sometimes for the rule of threes because it's like not quite clear enough to me. I'm like, either show me 3 times or like get it right in my face, just so because I'm so down to earth and practical. I really
Yeah.
sometimes need that confirmation, that I'm not just projecting it onto the
Yeah.
outside world.
I love
Yeah.
that. I love that, and I think that's really important, and I so I was talking with, oh man, what is his name? He's the owl guy, the guy who studied.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'll
so I
put
was
I'll put it down below in the description, but I can't think of his name off the top of my
okay.
head either. The owl
Yeah,
guy,
he
yeah.
is amazing, he's amazing, and the way that he I was listening to one of his interviews one day and it struck me. And it literally, this interview that he was doing with someone, it completely changed my life and how I operate in the world. And basically, he was talking about dreams and he was talking about walking through life, um, almost kind of looking at the symbolism that's happening around you as if you would if you were looking back on a dream and kind of like almost like interpreting what's happening in like kind of dream language. And I swear something clicked in for me that day. And ever since then, I'm like, I can't unsee it. I'm like, it's so true. And there's symbolism everywhere. Like, I mean, and yeah, maybe it is. I'm sure that people who are more on the skeptical side, which is a totally valid experience and honestly really important for us to have like all kinds of different people. But they would probably think that it's something kind of along the lines of what you were talking about, like, oh, you're looking for it, so you're seeing it, but it does come with like a intuitive sense, like a knowing and a feeling that's not it's not in the head, it's not in the mind, it's in the body, and it's just different. And I don't know that it's something that could ever be like scientifically, proven. Um but it is very much reality for me. That's how my reality works.
Yeah, yeah. I
Mhm.
completely understand what you're talking about. Um, I spent my 20s like experimenting with psychedelics and at enough dose, you just click out of like you click fully into your body, but you're not identifying with the ego or the human part of it. You're identifying with the soul part of it. And the soul understands there's nothing forgotten. And for me, it was like, oh, this is no different than a dream. In fact, this is a dream. When I'm awake, I'm actually in a dream and this is all manifesting like moment to moment. And it's hard for like the filtered human mind to like grasp that because we're down into this tiny little piece of data where we don't have the whole picture in that same moment. But yeah, I was thinking about that when you were talking about how significant like actually everything is significant,
Yeah.
but it's so
Yes.
overwhelming that you couldn't possibly like your brain couldn't manage that data.
Mhm.
Um unless it's like really truly open and has like a place to stand within it because there's really no place to stand. It's like all ethereal.
Yes.
It's really funny at my very first mushroom trip I did with a really, really close college friend of mine. And um we just laid together in this bed at a party and we were talking to each other like what we saw and all this stuff. And she's like, oh, I'm seeing this like skeleton. And then she's like, weird. The skeleton has got a potato chip. Like, I don't really. And then she goes, oh, I have a chip on my shoulder.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. That's
Yeah.
so funny. That's so funny.
Yeah,
Oh,
it was
yeah,
hilarious. And when you're in that state and like you make that connection is just it's the cosmic joke. It's like, yes,
totally.
my personality has a chip on its shoulder.
Yeah. Well,
You
and
know?
that's the thing, like, the universe and, like, our guides are humorous. There's so much
Very
that comes
funny.
through with humor. Um, it's really fun. But there was something that you had mentioned that is something that I is kind of like a huge part of, I think, the human experience for people who are awakening to more of their, intuition or psychic senses, and that is the fact that we are in a human body, but those senses come through the human body. And the awareness is like, I mean, I believe that, our soul is in in this human container essentially and within this energetic field, and we're playing in this incredible like earth school essentially. We're teaching each other lessons all the time in easy ways and hard ways and beautiful ways and really messy ways, and but on a soul level, it really all comes from love, and one thing with psychedelics that completely also shifted how I operate is feeling like that level of oneness. I mean, when you're in it, it's like this is what's actually real. The actual connection is what's real. It's the human forgetting, but that's actually, I think, like a big part of why we come to this planet is to forget and to get to play in the human experience and learn. And so the kind of the combination of being open and having these senses becoming more and more developed, while also very much in the human experience, I mean, it's just so rich and really fascinating and really hard sometimes, but really
Mhm.
fascinating.
Yeah, it's really hard sometimes. There's a sense of we have this like inborn sense of survival, and I think that that need to survive can drive so much of our experience and for whatever reason it's there. But the it's an interesting process. It's an interesting experience to have when you have that like it's at a dose. It's at a particular
Mhm,
dose of psychedelics. Like you have to like go over the hump
mhm.
of just seeing things and like
Yeah,
doing the party dose. You got to
mhm.
go over that hump and
Gosh, yeah, I've never had a
yeah.
party dose. Even at light doses, my soul is, like, working with the medicine. The medicine is working with my soul, and, like, it always goes deep for me on an emotional level. I've never had
Yeah.
a party experience with it.
Some people don't understand like how to use it. They don't use it as
Mhm.
medicine, they use it as entertainment.
Yeah.
And and often when they take too much of a dose, there's they have a bad trip,
Mhm, mhm.
because they're disassociating from what they've considered identity, and at a certain point, there is no identity, and so it's like, what do you do with that? What
Yeah,
do you do with that experience? You have
yeah.
to have a container for it, and if you don't, it can really freak you out.
Yeah, you have to be in the right like setting and with the right people and headspace and really kind of clearing the space and preparing the space. It's very important. But when I first experimented, I was also in my 20s, and I had no idea. I took a huge dose. Huge the first time, and what actually something really amazing happened as a result. At the time, I had a severe phobia of dogs, and I mean, like, from age 1 to, like, 20. Well, how old was I? I was probably, like, 19 at the time. I was literally so scared that if I walked outside and I heard what sounded like, like tags on a collar, jingling, I would freeze. Like, my whole body would freeze. I would, like, hold my breath and clench my fists and just be terrified. And I had some, like, really kind of traumatic experiences with dogs when I was younger. but it started like before I could even remember it. But my nervous system was just wrecked around dogs. So I was at someone's house who had 2 dogs who were very, I had spent a decent amount of time with them, and I was still nervous with them, but I was comfortable enough to be in the house with them, and I had taken this huge dose on I didn't realize what was about to happen, and everyone was kind of having their own experience, and one of their dogs sat facing me, staring at me, and it felt like hours of this, but he was staring at me and his face would like morph into this super aggressive, terrifying, like teeth growling, snarling, like looked like he was about to like come at me. And then he would morph into like a Cheshire cat smile kind of thing, like creepy, like kind of clownish smiling. And he went back and forth between these kind of like expressions and and I was just sitting there like just kind of having this really wild internal experience of like, oh my gosh, like this is really intense, but he doesn't seem to be coming towards me, so I'm just going to sit with it and let it happen. Well, shortly after that, I got a speeding ticket that I couldn't pay off because I was 19. I was struggling. And so I lost my license for a short period of time. So I had to walk to work every day, walk to and from work. And I was like, I've got to get over this fear of dogs. And because I need to be able to move through the world and not be terrified. So I started going to shelters and doing walkthroughs at the shelters, and specifically Montgomery County Animal Shelter in Virginia. And I ended up seeing, I did this for months, like 3 times a week for months. Um, I never touched a dog. I was just like walking through the aisles, getting used to seeing them and hearing them barking and all of that. And then I connected with a pitty in the very back who looked very calm and very sweet and really shut down. And I was asking the staff about her because I was just like, she looks really sweet and like sad. And one day I came in and they were like, she's going to be euthanized on Saturday if nobody takes her. So I went and got her. And that was the first time I had like handled a dog and like touched a dog or anything in like many, many years. And she was like soul level connected dog. She was this big pit bull. She ended up having all of these aggression issues like fear reactivity, fear aggression. And that's how I ended up getting into training. But like, if I go back to it, it was actually psychedelics that started that process. But it was actually spirit that started that process that got me that dose in that set and setting with that dog. I mean, just absolutely incredible. Incredible.
Yeah, and the like aggressive face and the Cheshire face and like going back and forth between those. How did you work with that in the moment and then afterward as well? Like what are the connections, if any?
So I think that it was almost like, I kind of think of it as like if you're I don't know if this is the right word, but like titrating kind of like if you kind of go in a little bit and then come back out and it's like, okay, I'm okay. And then you go in a little bit deeper and it's really intense and then you come back out and you're like, okay, I'm still safe. And then in and it's scary, but we come back out, we're still safe. It kind of felt like that, but like really intense, like times 100, you know, um, uh, outside of like normal therapy. Like therapy, my therapist is absolutely incredible and she's a mentor coach, kind of like spiritual coach. She's amazing. But she's very skilled at like knowing how far to go in and then when to come out and how to come out. And that's kind of what it felt like was happening. And I didn't put two and two together that that trip happened just before everything else unfolded until years later, many years later. And I was like, wait a second. I'm pretty sure that trip actually like kind of set the stage for getting over my phobia of dogs. Yeah.
So it was a type of like exposure therapy
Hmm.
with the dog, like literally the dog was sitting in front of you, and
Yes.
then there was this like thing happening that was exposing you and then keeping you safe at the same time. So
Hmm.
then when you walked through the animal shelter so many times, it was kind of
Hmm.
the same type of exposure? like, just
Totally.
little bits more and more and more to the point where
Yeah.
you could adopt this dog
Mhm.
who really needed it.
And now I do that with
Wow.
dogs. I basically do exposure therapy with them. It's so interesting, like, how it all kind of, like, unfolded.
Yeah, so can you say more about what does that mean when you talk about exposure therapy for a
Mhm.
dog?
Yeah, so, I would say one of the best examples that I see all the time are dogs who are reactive on the leash. And so many dogs are reactive on the leash for so many reasons. It could be lack of socialization, it could be that they had a traumatic experience on the leash. They might just tend towards anxiety and just not feel safe on the leash. Uh, there's a lot of things that can cause it, but let's say we have a dog who's reactive. The hardest spot to walk them is in the neighborhood because you really can't get enough space. So there's an amazing park here in Wilmington called Longleaf Park. If you're ever in Wilmington and you have a reactive dog, highly recommend. It's amazing because it's this huge open space and there's an outer trail and an inner trail. And the park is really busy. So there's dogs and people and kids and scooters and like just people everywhere, basketball here, baseball there, playgrounds everywhere. It's a big park. And we walk up and down the green space. For a dog who's really reactive, we walk kind of in the middle of the green space, which gives us probably 100 yards on either side to see the dogs, but be at a safe enough distance that they don't go over threshold. And then use rewards, whether that be food, affection, verbal praise, generally all of the above. Food is really helpful. If a dog is food motivated, it really helps us speed things up. It's calming. It helps them make positive associations. So, and we work with like check-ins, like check back in with me rather than stare at the dog and, maybe leave it or sit, stay, working on not pulling. So there's just less tension on the leash. And then once the dog shows like, okay, I'm actually really comfortable here, then we move just a little bit closer and we keep going. And they might get a little bit more stressed there, but not going over threshold. And then they're able to come down. And once they've come down and they're like, okay, I'm okay here, we go a little bit closer and it's like that, and we're able to slow the process down, and it's the same kind of thing, like, if I'm working with a dog downtown who's not used to that level of stimulation and crowds and so on, we'll go on to Front Street that's crowded and wild for, like, 1 block, and then we go back a block where it's a lot more quiet. So we kind of go into the chaos and then come out of the chaos and go in and come out. It's very similar, and, it's pretty amazing how I mean, all of them improve, but some of them will improve really, really quickly, like, surprisingly quickly.
It's so what I got in you sharing that is this connection between how intuition and I'm using that word somewhat broadly, but it's
Mhm.
really this being very connected with all parts of ourselves and all parts of the world, including other animals, and being present in the moment with that. And people often think like, oh, intuition or like higher self or like spirit, like that's woo woo stuff out here. But
Mhm.
the way that you just have described kind of your movement from psychedelics into or your own exposure to dogs, to owning a dog, to working with dogs, to exposing dogs to what they're afraid of and bringing them, you know, into this sort of parasympathetic state rather than being amped, um, is so that was an very intuitive process for you and so grounded. Like really being in our intuition is extremely grounded. And we use it way more than we can recognize a lot of the time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's
And
really
I think
cool.
we can get ungrounded with all of it, and I think probably most people do at some point, kinda lose their grounding, and that has its own beautiful, really important, teachings that come with that too.
Yeah, that's a really
Yeah.
good point. There's like a time and a space and a place and a
Mhm.
lesson for becoming ungrounded.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. So I have a question. Would you be willing to do like a little bit of live practice if I bring my dog in? Would that be
Gosh,
some
I would love that.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
okay.
who's your dog? Or what's their name?
Sadie?
Sadie.
Sadie.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Okay. Should I
absolutely.
take this off or
Yeah, I think
okay.
maybe if we pause here, I'm gonna kind of set the space, do some energy protection on my side, your side, and then maybe when we come back, I can be at the point where I'm actually starting. She's in the room. I'm starting to send Reiki and kind of feeling into what's happening.
Okay, that sounds good.
Ah,
Let's pause.
yay! Okay. Ah, yay! Good girl. Good
She's a
girl.
doodle. She is 6. She just turned 6 a couple days ago, actually,
Okay.
and she's awesome. I mean, I really have 0 complaints about her. Her tendencies are, she's extremely loving and very, very close to me because I work from home.
Okay.
Um
And it's okay if I don't see her. Your volume is a little low.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
How's this?
There we go. That now I can
I
hear you. That's perfect. Yeah.
Okay, well, very good, thank you. Yeah, if I get away from this mic, it doesn't work so well.
Mm.
Um,
Does she have something going on right front leg, kind of inside? Mhm. It kind of feels like heat. Um okay. Yeah, it kind of feels like heat, like hot. So it could just be where she's like licking a lot at it. Um Yeah, it could just be like if she has skin allergies or if it just gets agitated with so she's 6 years old. Have you had her since she was a puppy?
mhm.
Mhm. So, tell me about her.
She, she's a doodle, so she's has the tendencies of a doodle, which is
Uh-huh.
Velcro dog all the way.
Uh-huh.
Because
Uh-huh.
I work from home, she's most attached to me. Um,
Uh-huh.
so I think most of the time she's reflecting me more than my husband is. Or
Okay.
I mean, my husband reflects me too, but more than
Yeah, yeah.
she reflects my
That's
husband.
funny. Yeah, yeah.
But if I'm gone for a while, she'll switch.
Okay.
Um,
Okay, got it. Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah, so she's pretty flexible, but she's very emotionally sensitive,
Okay.
meaning, um, she has strong emotions about
Mhm.
things. She wants to be
Mhm.
with us all the time, and when we leave her, she gets pouty, um,
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
know? She does have on-leash aggression at times, but it has
Mhm.
gotten a lot better, but she's extremely selective about her
Okay.
friends. She's like, "I
Mhm.
only want these people. The rest of you can, like, go away." Which
Yeah.
is pretty much how I am, so
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, and as they get older, dogs do tend to become more selective. They're a lot more social when they're like puppies. Um, I am feeling, yeah, that area on that front right leg. Now, on occasion, I will feel it mirrored, but like 95% of the time it's on the same side. But on a rare occasion, it could actually be like her left leg, but usually it's the same side. And then on the right side of the neck, um, it doesn't feel like pain, but it feels like a lot of energy kind of on the back side, on the right side of the neck, kind of like like it shows up as like right trap sort of area here. Um, so
she does wear an Apple AirTag,
okay. Uh-huh.
so
Oh,
I don't think
interesting.
that's disruptive. I think about it all the time, but, like,
That's interesting.
she likes to
Yeah,
try
because
to
it feels, like, energetic. It doesn't feel like physical pain or anything, but it's a interesting, like, energetic
mm,
feeling.
mhm.
I don't really know. Um, okay, I see.
I could take it off and see if it changes too. Oh, she's passed out already.
Yeah, that happens. So as soon as I start sending Reiki, I would say probably 80 to 85% of them pass out right away. And then you might start seeing signs of release, and that would look like sighing, twitching, maybe yawning, sometimes like scratching. They might get up, kind of scratch, adjust, lay back down, and then have a big sigh. It can kind of look like that. A lot of times it's like twitches, like really noticeable twitches, more so than what you would see when they normally are falling asleep. Um, so yeah, it does feel like a little bit of tension on the right side, like shoulder, neck. It doesn't feel like anything major, just a little bit of like maybe like muscle soreness if she was kind of rough housing or just kind of, I don't know. It doesn't feel like super painful. It just feels like some muscle soreness. Solar plexus is showing up. Um, yeah. So are you okay with me working a little bit with the environment?
Hmm.
Okay. And if you would like, so you can close your eyes or not, but I might just guide you through a short meditation and release. And actually, for the people who are listening, you can also do this. And it's just a short way to like ground and release. So we'll just close our eyes and begin to slow the breath down, inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the mouth. And just beginning to become aware of your senses, maybe feeling the weight of your body on the earth or in the chair, feeling the temperature of the air, noticing how the body is doing, if the body is asking for anything, food, water, rest, care on another level, touch. Checking in with the emotional body, just feeling what's here without any judgment or any need to change anything. We're just checking in. Noticing the energy in the body and directly around the body, and just seeing if there are any areas that may feel a little more tight or constricted or even overactive. Noticing where the energy feels like it's flowing well and where there's a little bit of stickiness. Again, without any judgment, just checking in and listening to the body and beginning to expand your awareness out into the room and noticing, how does the environment feel? How is the energy moving within the room? Maybe sensing the energy of your animal or another person who's in the space with you, and becoming aware that you can really feel their energetic signature. And even if you couldn't see them coming into the room, you would know that they were there because you know their signature. And just noticing if there's anything coming forward around something that could be supportive in the space, whether that be any objects in the space that might be ready to be moved into another room or be donated. Noticing if there's anything that the space is calling for. I'm actually seeing orange calcite and rose quartz. And we're just going to begin to send roots down through the soles of our feet, down into the earth. So you might just imagine strong, healthy roots growing deep and wide, deeper and deeper, until the roots find a huge boulder deep in the earth and the roots wrap around the boulder, anchoring you to the earth and her incredible, loving, supportive energy. And with the breath, we're just going to begin to let go of stress and tension, worry, anxiety, letting go of frustration with ourselves. I'm just kind of feeling a little bit of maybe like a lot of pressure, like internal pressure of it. I need to be doing more. And maybe just beginning to, with the breath, just gently beginning to release that. So inhaling into any spaces that feel a little bit tight and exhaling, letting it go down the roots, down into the earth, knowing that the earth knows exactly what to do with this energy and will transform this energy into something incredibly useful. Just take 3 or 4 more big, deep breaths, clearing. Maybe beginning to imagine the throat opening just a little bit, almost like a pipe being clear and open and allowing energy to move through. You might even see a blue light filling this pipe that allows energy to move. Breathing into the heart space, remembering to breathe into the back of the heart as well, breathing into the spine. And as you continue releasing, you might begin to see, almost visualize, a huge tree that's growing through the center of the room. It's even bigger than the room, bigger than the house. And this is the tree of life. And the roots of the tree of life anchor all the way to the core of the earth. And the branches reach high up into the cosmos. We're just going to ask that the tree of life work with us to help clear the space and help release any stress and tension from the environment and anyone in the environment. I'm calling in the divine animal kingdom to work with Sadie and Grace. You may even see animals come forward. You might, and even if it just feels like, oh, this is just my imagination, that's perfect. The imagination is perfect. and just welcoming them in to do their own form of work with us. I'm seeing a really pronounced blue jay, like a really big, pronounced, like he has a big energy. I'm seeing a buck, like a deer, but he's a buck with a big, like, rack of antlers. And he has a female deer with him as well. Oh, and the ladybug. Mhm. And if you would like, you can welcome the Divine Animal Kingdom to continue working with you and to continue working with Sadie, and for the listeners to continue working with you and your own animals for as long as it feels supportive. We're just going to wrap the room in a big dome of light and actually even connecting that down at the bottom. So, holding the entire environment in a sphere of light and seeing that entire space fill with light. You might see different colors. It might be white light or gold light, rainbow colors. It's all perfect exactly as it is. And this shield just holds you in your own beautiful energy, grounded, clear, protected. And before we close out, just taking a moment to notice how the environment feels, notice how the body feels, notice how the emotions are moving, how energy is moving. And we'll take one big deep breath together, inhaling through the nose, biggest breath of the day, and sighing, letting it all go. We'll go ahead and come on back.
Mm, thank you.
You're welcome.
It's so easy to see the tree.
Yeah.
Um, we just moved into this house and it's a rental, so there's been a lot of people in and out, and we have
Mhm.
major changes to make it comfortable for us. There was a lot of just gunk,
Mhm.
mm, and we were hanging things up and putting things in places, and my husband goes, "Man, we have a lot of things with trees.
Yeah. Yep,
Trees, pictures
totally.
everywhere."
My earrings is like the tree of life. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm, like, obsessed with the tree of life. My grid actually for the Animal Alchemy Collective, if it's okay, I'm gonna grab it real quick.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So this is the base of the grid that I am starting. So it's an animal alchemy grid where I work with animals from a distance and I work with a whole group, but I work with the energy of the tree of life and the divine animal kingdom. In the training that I took um, on all levels with the animal Reiki, we incorporate the tree of life and the divine animal kingdom. And it's really powerful because they come in with their own healing energy and it's profound. It's profound.
Mm. You shared a picture with me, a couple pictures of this. So I wanna share that here for those that are watching in the video. Pixie.
You can hear her. Yeah, she's
Yeah.
getting a little. sh- Yeah. So that's the grid when it's set up. The outer pieces are clear quartz. There's 12 pieces of clear quartz. This is really nice clear quartz that has a really strong energy. The centerpiece is a big piece of Kambaba jasper. And I love Kambaba jasper. It is like the most grounding. Oh my gosh, it feels so good. It's so calming, so grounding. And then the piece at the top is the Lemurian quartz, which is what I use to charge the grid. So I get into a space where I'm clear, grounded, protected, holding protection over the space, and not from a fearful point of view, but more just like it's sacred space. And I work with the master crystal, which is the Lemurian quartz. And I have a specific ritual to charge the grid to get it actively sending Reiki. And then I work with the grid in whatever way comes to me intuitively. And I do a lot of clearing work or, I mean, a lot comes through intuitively and I just follow my intuition with that. But I can work with, a large group of animals with this. And the Animal Alchemy Collective is a membership that lets you add your animals to the grid for daily Reiki, along with monthly healing sessions for the humans.
Oh, so cool.
Yeah. I'm so excited.
Yeah. That's really cool. And so people can find that on your webpage,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Okay, so just repeat that again. I'll put it in the
Mhm.
description, but repeat
Yes,
that
so
page
it's
again.
wildearthanimalalchemy.com.
Uh-huh.
Yay! How are you feeling? How is Sadie feeling? Did you notice anything while we were working together?
Yeah, so she's sleeping. She did move
Mhm,
around a little bit, and
mhm,
she did sigh a few times, and she's in a different position than when she started.
mhm.
She's not oh, she just opened her eyes. It was like, usually she'll respond to me, but she's kinda like, "Ooh,"
Yeah,
a
yes,
little
that's normal.
druggy. Yeah. I felt like when you asked me to check in with my body and see, I have that on the right side.
Mm. I may have been picking up on you. Because, I was working with her, but you're in the environment with her. This happens a lot when I'm working with the animals, I'll pick up on the people. So, she may not have that going on. It could be just yours.
Yeah, she does
Mhm,
tend to reflect things, though,
mhm,
for me. I try to pay attention, but oh, and we're down. Okay. I try to pay attention to those things, and I try to pay attention to, um, if I notice that she's carrying something for me,
mhm,
um,
mhm.
because I don't want her to carry my stuff, and animals will often, like, carry their people's things trying to
Yes,
reduce suffering, and,
yes.
I had dogs in the past that did do that, and I didn't know it at the
Mhm.
time,
Same.
and now I'm aware of that, and so I'm always like, I she is showered with love every second of every day. So I'm always like, and essentially, I'm just, like, blowing love at her, like, clearing her out.
Oh, I love it.
Um, yeah, and I was gonna say, I think that's, like, it's part of our contract, like,
Mhm.
in previous ownerships I've had with animals, I didn't have the capacity
Yes,
to
same.
love unconditionally,
Yeah.
even animal, and,
Mhm, mhm.
um, even very rarely, but there are moments where I get frustrated because she's, like, dawdling or whatever on a walk, and I'm
Mhm.
like, "Katie."
Yeah.
And then I feel like, "Oh, no, no, that's not my commitment," you know? Um,
Right, right.
yeah,
Well,
so
and I think, like, we're gonna be feeling our human stuff. Sometimes we're in a rush, sometimes we don't have much capacity left after the end of the day. And with Pixie, her energy level coming at me like it was, before I got her into, doggy daycare, I was like, "Oh my gosh," like, my capacity was stretched. I was stretched way past my limit. And then I started leaning into support because I realized like I literally need the support. Sometimes I need to be able to drop her off somewhere to play, or sometimes I need to hire a pet sitter, and, like calling in support, because it's really a lot to play that role all the time, 100% of the time too. And it's okay for us to be human and, not always get it quote unquote right. Like, animals are so forgiving. They don't hold on to that.
Yeah, she has, like, I had labs and a pit lab mix, and they were
Oh.
like, I'd get mad at them and they'd be like, "What? Huh?" "Okay." And she
Yeah.
gets her
Yeah.
feelings hurt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm way more aware of, like, I have a bigger impact on her. Um,
Mhm.
so I'm always very, and my life is way lower stress than ever it used to be before, and,
Amazing.
when you get your life in alignment, there's a lot of things that go away. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, thank you so much. I hope that our listeners really enjoyed that and got a feel for what it's like to connect at that level with your pets, and yeah, it's just, they're such a blessing.
Mhm. Yeah, and thank you so much for inviting me on and letting me connect with Sadie. That was so cool. She's very cool. I really like her. I Yeah, she feels oh, what's the word? She feels like she has a sense of humor. Um and then with whatever is going on with her leg, Um, yeah, I would just keep an eye on, like, skin stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah, around her paws.
Okay. Yeah,
Mhm.
she is food sensitive, very, so she's
Yes,
on, like, a
that makes sense.
hydrolyte diet because she can't tolerate, and so the few things that scraps sometimes that she gets can
Mhm.
sometimes bother her.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but she also has a ton of, she's allergic to everything. Like, we had her
Oh,
tested, and
poor baby.
my vet called and said, "I'm really sorry to inform you that your dog is allergic to the world."
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
like,
man.
"Great."
Yeah, that's hard. I feel like Pixie might have a lot of allergies too, where, she goes to the vet tomorrow, actually, so we're gonna we're gonna talk
Yeah.
about it, yeah.
The
Um,
grasses, I think, are
yeah,
big, but she's on allergy shots that have really helped a ton, and
good.
I know she is a little bit inflamed right now because it's
Mhm,
spring and the cottonwoods are going crazy and the grasses are
mhm,
growing,
mhm.
so she is a little sensitive right now.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm.
Oh my
Thank
gosh,
you.
this was so nice. It was so good to catch up with you and see you again, and just it was a really lovely conversation. I really appreciate you letting me come on, and yeah, and if there's anything else that you need from me, just let me know. Um
Yes, yes,
yeah,
and I encourage everyone, minimally, you have to go to Indy's webpage and read about her and the work that she does. If nothing else, it will be very educational. And if you can and you have a pet that you love, reach out to her or get on her, what do you call it? The
yeah, it's
daily.
the Animal Alchemy Collective, and that's where we work with your animals through a grid.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
become a part of that. Um, I know I'm going to. So thank you again, Indy, and thanks everyone for listening to this extra long session. But we had fun. So all
Absolutely.
right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
That was Indy from Wild Earth Animal Alchemy. And I hope you felt some of those truth chills she talked about, because this conversation had a lot of them for me. What I love most about what Indy shared is that her path wasn't about just following a plan. It was about learning to trust the data coming through, the dreams, the feelings in her body, the hawk feather, and then doing the brave thing of actually following it, even when she couldn't yet see the whole picture. That's the work, isn't it? In coaching, in life, learning to hear what's already there and trust it. If you have an animal in your life, I really encourage you to visit Indy at wildearthanimalalchemy.com. Check out the Animal Alchemy Collective and see what opens up when you explore that relationship at a deeper level. And if this episode landed for you, share it with a coach or a fellow animal lover who's ready to go deeper. That's how this community grows. So until next time, Keep remembering, keep unfolding, and keep ascending.
In a world that's shifting, the veil grows thin. Truth is whispering deep within. Old ways fading, new light calls. We rise together, soul and all.